Welcome to All Things Storybound, a creative outlet where any and all kinds of stories come to life.
Let us take you on a journey you've never experienced before.
Grab your favorite drink and get comfortable. You're in for a wild story ahead.
Chapter 1.
The Menkarion Academy sits atop a plateau that stretches into the sky, almost as though it were carved out of the heavens themselves. Its towers rise like gleaming spears, reaching toward the twin moons that bathe the planet Menkar in their silver light. The Academy is more than just a school. It's a symbol of unity across galaxies, a place where the greatest minds and the strongest hearts come together to learn, to train, and one day lead their worlds. I stand on the edge of the East Tower's balcony, letting the cool night air wash over me. The sky is a peculiar shade of indigo, a color found only here on Menkar, where the atmosphere catches the light of distant stars in ways no other planet does. The two moons, Velis and Lyra, hang low on the horizon, casting their pale glow over the grounds below. From up here, I can see the training fields, a massive expanse where students are constantly honing their abilities. The fields themselves are an ever-changing landscape, able to shift their terrain based on the needs of the day's lessons. Right now, it's quiet. The grounds bathed in the soft light of the moons, but during the day, it's a place of constant energy. One moment, a desert of scorching heat to train endurance. The next, a frozen wasteland to test survival skills. All of it designed to prepare us for what lies next beyond these walls. This is my final year at the Academy. By this time next cycle, I'll have completed the trials and will be expected to take my place at the side of my parents, King Logan and Queen Samara, rulers of Menkar. My father was raised on Earth until he, my mom, and a few others saved the universe. I am Rayna, firstborn of the royal family, and the weight of my lineage hangs heavily on my shoulders. Everyone at the Academy knows who I am. They see me not just as a student, but as a future leader, the heir to the Menkar's throne. They expect me to be perfect, unbreakable. But it's hard being perfect when every step you take feels like it's already been laid out for you, and your mistakes are magnified 100-fold. I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. My fingers brushed the hilt of the blade strapped to my side, one of the few tangible pieces of the heritage I carry with me. The blade was forged in the heart of Menkar's second moon, Velis, and has been passed down through my family for generations. My father carried this blade. It's said only the worthy can wield it, and that the blade has absorbed the light of the stars and the shadows of the void, making it powerful enough to channel energy from both realms. But like most of my abilities, I'm still learning to master it. A flicker of movement catches my eye, and I turn to see Valan leaning casually against the doorway that leads back into the tower. His face is lit with his usual mischievous grin, and his piercing blue eyes glimmer in the moonlight. Valan is hard to miss, with his dark, wavy hair, always looking like he's just stepped out of a windstorm, and his easy confidence that never seems to waver.
Watching over your future kingdom already.
He teases, pushing off the doorframe and strolling towards me with that relaxed stride of his. Just preparing for the trials, I reply, not fully hiding the smirk that tugs at my lips. Shouldn't you be doing the same? If I remember right, you barely passed your last test. Valan laughs, a deep, infectious sound.
Ah, Rayna, always so serious. You know me, I thrive under pressure. Besides, if I really put in an effort, no one else would stand a chance.
He's joking, of course. But behind the playful arrogance, I know there's a grain of truth. Valan is half human, half water nymph. A rare hybrid with abilities that make him one of the most versatile fighters in the Academy. He can control water, shaping it into blades, shields, or even creating entire storms if he's near enough to a water source. He can also breathe underwater, though only for 30 minutes at a time, a limitation that frustrates him to no end. You should at least pretend to take this seriously, I say, turning back to the view of the Academy grounds. It's not like the trials are a joke. His expression shifts, just for a moment, to something more thoughtful.
I know. I'll be ready.
He leans on the balcony's edge, just beside me, the wind tousling his dark hair.
I guess we all have something to prove, don't we?
I don't answer, but he's right. Valan, despite his easygoing nature, comes from a legacy that's almost as heavy as mine. His father, Tobias, is not only my father's best friend, but a hero in his own right. A legend in the wars that shaped the alliance between Menkar and the other planetary systems. Valan is always compared to him, just like I'm always compared to my parents.
Mari's probably meditating in the Hall of Mirrors.
Valan adds after a moment.
You know how she is before any big event, practicing control, focus, all that.
I smile at the thought of Mari. If Valan is all impulsive energy and charisma, Mari is the complete opposite. She's calm, calculating, and fiercely intelligent. Her telekinetic abilities are unmatched in the Academy, and she's always pushing herself to become better, more precise. The three of us have been friends since our first year, and even though we're vastly different in personality, we've always had each other's backs. But the glue that holds us together is Talia. She is one of a kind, literally. She is an Alkyonian. They are a race of beings who rule over the death dimension or afterlife. They very rarely visit our dimension, but Talia made the choice to live here and attend the Academy. I always wondered why, because in her dimension, she is immortal, but here she ages. We've been friends since childhood. The air suddenly shifts, a faint disturbance that sends a chill crawling down my spine. The light around us seems to dim, as if the very sky is swallowing the moon's glow. I tense, instinctively summoning a small orb of light to my palm.
You feel that?
Valan's tone has changed, the easy humor replaced by something more serious. Before I can respond, the Academy's alarms blare through the halls, a deep, resonant sound that means only one thing: an attack. I meet Valan's eyes for just a moment, and we don't need to exchange words. The Academy is under siege, and we need to move fast.
Chapter 2.
We tear through the spiral staircases that wind down the east tower, the sound of the alarm reverberating through the walls, growing louder with each step. The stone beneath my boots vibrates as I race down, Valan close behind, his expression grim. Gone is the carefree swagger. This is the Valan who's been trained since birth to fight. The central courtyard of the Academy comes into view as we emerge from the tower. Normally a place of calm study and practice, it is now a battlefield. The courtyard stretches out before us, an enormous space flanked by towering pillars that glow faintly in the Menkarion energy. At its center, a massive fountain spews jets of water into the air, a source of power for anyone with water-based abilities like Valan. But tonight, the water is dark, reflecting the chaos surrounding it. Students are everywhere. Some huddled behind pillars for cover, others locked in combat with dark figures that seem to melt in and out of the shadows. Shadow Knights. I'd only heard stories of them. Beings born from the void between worlds. Creatures from darkness and nightmare. Their forms are fluid, shifting. Their limbs elongating and twisting as they move. They have no faces, only the faint outline of where their eyes should be, glowing with an eerie light. A student nearby hurls a bolt of energy at one of the creatures, but it phases right through it, barely slowing it down. My heart pounds. The Shadow Knights aren't just attacking the Academy, they're tearing it apart. We need to find Mari, I shout over the noise. And Talia. Valan nods, his eyes scanning the battlefield.
She's probably in the Hall of Mirrors. Let's move.
We sprint across the courtyard, dodging students and Shadow Knights alike. As we pass the fountain, Valan's hand flicks towards the water, drawing it into the air. The liquid twists and coils, forming a long, sharp spear in his grip. With a quick motion, he hurls it at a Shadow Knight that's lunging toward a group of younger students. The spear slices through the creature and it dissipates into a cloud of dark mist.
Keep moving,
Valan shouts, pulling more water into the air as he follows me. I throw up a hand as another Shadow Knight charges at us, summoning light to form a barrier between us. The creature screeches, recoiling from the glow, and I push the light outward, forcing it back. But for every one we repel, more seem to rise from the shadows. The darkness is everywhere, thick and suffocating. As we approach the entrance to the Hall of Mirrors, a loud explosion rocks the ground beneath us. The heavy stone door to the hall is blown clean off the hinges and smoke pours from the entrance. My stomach twists with dread. Talia and Mari were inside. No. I whisper, racing into the hall. The room is in ruins. Mirrors that once lined the walls, magical mirrors used for meditation, training, and transportation, are shattered. Their reflective surfaces scattered across the floor like jagged pieces of ice. The air is thick with the acrid scent of smoke and something darker, something that smells like fear. "Talia!" I shout, my voice echoing through the room. There's no answer. Inside the Hall of Mirrors, the air feels heavy, thick with the energy of shattered spells and broken magic. The once glittering walls, adorned with mirrors, are now fractured into countless shards. My boots crunch against the glass as I move deeper into the room, light still pulsing at my fingertips. "Mari! Talia!" My voice echoes against the jagged remnants of the mirrors, but the only response is the low, ominous hum of energy vibrating through the hall. My heart pounds in my chest, fear threading its way through my thoughts. Valan steps up beside me, his water sphere still dripping as it hovers near his hand, ready to strike at the first sign of danger. He surveys the room with a sharp eye, though his usual cocky smile is gone from his face. His jaw is clenched tight, focused.
I don't like this.
He mutters, his eyes flick toward a darker corner of the hall.
Something's wrong.
I nod, scanning the room again. The Hall of Mirrors is large, its ceiling arching high above us in a grand dome. But even with the destruction, the absence of life feels wrong. There's no sign of Mari, no sign of Talia, no sign of anyone. Then movement catches my eye. A figure stumbles out from behind a toppled pillar, dust and shards of mirror clinging to her uniform. It's Mari. Her usually sleek, dark hair is a mess, and her face is streaked with blood from a cut above her eyebrow. But her eyes, the piercing gray eyes that always look like they can see right through you, are sharp and alert. "Mari!" I rush toward her, but she raises a hand, halting me before I can get too close. Her hand trembles slightly, and I realize she's trying to steady herself, to regain control of her abilities. "They've taken her," Mari says, her voice hoarse but steady. "Talia, they came for her." The words hit me like a blow to the chest. Talia, my best friend. My heart, already racing from the chaos of the attack, now pounds with a new urgency, a fear that runs deeper than any I've felt before. Talia isn't just important to me. She's one of the few beings in the universe who can cross into the death dimension, the mysterious realm that bridges life and death. And now the Shadow Knights have her.
Did you see where they took her?
Valan asks, his voice tense. Mari nods, wiping the blood from her brow with the back of her hand. "Through a portal, one of the Shadow Knights opened it. I tried to stop them, but there were too many." She pauses, glancing at me with a mixture of guilt and anger. "I wasn't strong enough." I shake my head, stepping closer and placing a hand on her shoulder. "You couldn't have known they'd come for her. None of us could." But even as I say the words, a part of me feels the weight of responsibility pressing down on me. I'm Rayna, heir to Menkar, the future leader of my people. I should have seen this coming, should have protected Talia. The thought of her alone in some dark dimension with the Shadow Knights, it makes my blood run cold. "They came for her," Mari says quietly, her eyes hardening. "They ignored me till I attacked. It makes no sense." "What do you mean?" I ask, frowning. "I'm powerful. I could easily kill many of them. I did. But they put all their focus on Talia," she continues. "The Shadow Knights want to destroy us all, to wipe out all of the dimensions except theirs."
What's your point?
Valan says. "My point is, why didn't they destroy all of us? We are some of the strongest in the universe. This was a warning that they can capture the strongest among us. They don't see us as a threat." The words hang in the air like a noose, tightening with each passing second. "That's their mistake. We have to go after her," I say, the decision settling in my chest like an iron weight. If the Shadow Knights are planning something, it can't end with just Talia. This is bigger than her. It's bigger than all of us. Valan steps forward, his expression grim.
We're with you, Rayna, but we can't just rush into this without a plan. The Shadow Knights aren't like anything we've faced before. We don't even know where they've taken her.
Mari nods, her face pale but resolute. "We'll need to track the portal's energy signature. I can do it, but it'll take time." I take a deep breath, my mind racing. Time. We don't have time, but we don't have a choice either. I won't let Talia be lost to the void, and I won't let the Shadow Knights destroy everything we've fought for. This is bigger than the Academy, bigger than Menkar. It's about the balance of the entire universe. Do what you need to do, I say to Mari. We'll be ready.
Chapter 3.
Hours later, we gather in the Academy's war room, a place reserved for moments of true crisis. The walls are lined with holographic maps, star charts, and ancient scrolls documenting the history of Menkar and its allies. My parents, King Logan and Queen Samara, have held many war councils here over the years, but it's the first time I've stood in this room as the leader of my own mission. Valan and Maric are by my side, silent but resolute. Mari is already at work, her fingers dancing over the ancient control panel that pulses with energy beneath her touch. She's using her telekinetic abilities to manipulate the data streams, tracing the portal's energy signature through dimensions I can barely comprehend. Her face is calm, focused, but I know her well enough to see the strain around her eyes. Valan paces beside me, his movements tense and restless. Despite his usual bravado, I can tell he's as anxious as I am. His father, Tobias, is a hero of Menkar, and Valan has lived his whole life in that shadow. This mission isn't just about saving Talia for him. It's about proving he can be a hero too.
This is insane.
Valan mutters, his hands clenching into fists.
We're students, Rayna. This is the kind of thing the Royal Guard should be handling.
I glance at him, understanding his frustration but unwilling to back down. You think I don't know that? But we don't have time to wait for the Royal Guard to organize a response. By the time they're ready, Talia could be... I don't finish the sentence. I can't. The thought of Talia trapped in some dark dimension, alone and afraid, is too much to bear. I have to be strong, not just for her, but for everyone. Valan sighs, running a hand through his dark hair.
I know. I hate feeling like we're going into this blind.
We're not, Mari says suddenly, her voice steady despite the flickering holograms in front of her. I've got the energy signature. The portal leads to a dimension adjacent to the Death Realm, a place where the Shadow Knights draw their power. I step closer, peering at the holographic map she's created. It's a swirling mass of colors and shapes, a visual representation of the dimensional rift the Shadow Knights used to take Talia. It's chaotic, confusing, but Mari can see the patterns within it, the pathways that we'll need to follow. This dimension isn't stable, Mari continues, her brow furrowing. It's constantly shifting. Once we're inside, it'll be hard to find our way out.
Sounds fun,
Valan mutters under his breath, though there's no humor in his voice. I nod, my stomach churning with a mix of fear and determination. Then we'll have to be quick. We'll go in, find Talia, and get out before the dimension collapses.
And if the Shadow Knights are waiting for us?
Valan asks, his eyes meeting mine. I summon light to my hand, the golden glow illuminating the war room. Then we fight.
Chapter 4.
The journey to the dimension is unlike anything I've experienced. We step through the portal door Mari opens, the air around us bending and twisting as we're pulled through the rift. My body feels weightless for a moment, like I'm floating in the space between worlds. Then the sensation changes, and I feel the ground beneath my feet again, though it's not like any ground I've ever stood on. The dimension we've entered is strange, alien. The sky above us is an endless swirl of dark clouds, occasionally lit by flashes of sickly green lightning. The ground beneath our feet shifts with every step, the terrain constantly changing from rocky out to blackened sand to what feels like solid air. It's disorienting, like the world itself is alive and trying to throw us off balance.
This place is a nightmare,
Valan mutters, glancing warily at the shifting landscape. It's a reflection of the death dimension, Mari says quietly, her eyes scanning the horizon. Everything here is in flux, caught between existence and oblivion. I tighten my grip on the hilt of my blade, feeling the comforting weight of it at my side. The light I can summon is dimmer here, muted by the oppressive darkness that surrounds us. It feels like the shadows are pressing in from all sides, waiting for the moment we slip up. We need to move quickly, I say, my voice steady despite the fear coiling in my chest. The longer we stay here, the more dangerous it gets. Valan and Mari nod, and we set off across the shifting terrain, our senses on high alert. Every sound, every flicker of movement in the shadows feels like a threat. But we press on, driven by the knowledge that Talia is somewhere in this nightmarish place waiting for us. As we move deeper into the dimension, the air grows colder, and the shadows around us seem to thicken. The ground beneath our feet shifts again, becoming more treacherous with every step. Suddenly, Valan stops, holding up a hand.
Wait, do you hear that?
I strain my ears, and after a moment, I hear it too. A faint sound, like a whisper carried on in the wind. It's coming from ahead of us, but I can't make out the words. Stay close, I murmur, tightening my grip on the blade. We move forward cautiously, the whispers growing louder with each step. And then, as we crest a small rise, I see them. Shadow Knights. They're gathered in a loose circle. Their dark, shifting forms blending into the shadows around them. In the center of the circle is Talia, bound by chains of shadow, her body limp but still breathing. The sight of Talia, bound in chains of shadow, makes my blood run cold. She's unconscious, her usually vibrant energy dimmed to a flicker. The Shadow Knights surrounding her are indistinct shapes, their forms twisting like smoke. The air around them feels wrong, thick with malice, the stench of decay mingling with something darker, something ancient. Valan steps forward, his body tense, eyes fixed on the Shadow Knights. His hand tenses on the water whip coiled at his side.
We can't take them head on.
He whispers.
Not without a plan.
I nod, though my heart is racing with the urge to charge in, to break the chains that hold Talia and drag her out of this nightmare. But Valan's right. Rushing in without thinking will get us all killed, or worse. Mari crouches beside us, her sharp eyes focused on the Shadow Knights. We need to distract them. If I can create a telekinetic barrier around Talia, it might give us enough time to sever the chains. But I'll need you two to hold off the Shadow Knight.
Leave that to us.
Valan says, his voice low but confident. He glances at me.
Ready?
Always. I summon light to my hand, the glow brighter now in the proximity of such deep shadows. It hums against my skin, eager, waiting for command. My blade, forged from the starlight of Menkar's moon, gleams in response. Mari nods once, then her eyes turn a milky white as she channels her power. I feel the familiar hum of her telekinetic energy ripple through the air as she raises her hands, forming an invisible barrier around Talia. The Shadow Knights shift, sensing the intrusion. Their hollow eyes lock onto us. Go, Mari whispers, her voice strained as she focuses on keeping the barrier strong. Valan moves first, his water whip flashing through the air as he charges toward the Shadow Knights. His movements are fluid, quick, like the water he controls. He flicks his wrist, sending a torrent of water crashing into the nearest Shadow Knight, but the creature dissolves and reforms instantly, barely slowed by the attack. I follow close behind, light flaring in my hands as I rush toward the closest enemy. The Shadow Knight's form shifts, elongating into something grotesque, its limbs twisting into sharp, clawed extensions. It moves faster than I expect, but I'm still faster. I raise my blade and slash through the creature, the light from my weapon burning through its shadowy form. It screeches, recoiling, but it doesn't fall. The other Shadow Knights close in around us, their movements coordinated, eerily silent. They fight like nothing I've ever faced before. No real form, no real weakness, just darkness given shape. For every strike I land, they regroup, their shadowy bodies reforming as if the blows are nothing more than an inconvenience.
These things don't die.
Valan shouts, his voice edged with frustration as he pulls water from the ground, sending it crashing into the nearest creature. They're not meant to. Mari crawls out from behind us, her voice strained from holding the barrier around Talia. They're shadows tied to this dimension. They can't be killed here. I grit my teeth, dodging a sweeping strike from one of the creatures. Its clawed arm passes just inches from my face, leaving a trail of darkness in its wake. I turn, slashing with my blade, and its light flares, forcing the creature back. But Mari's words echo in my mind. They can't be killed here. This place is their home, their source of power. Then we need to get Talia out of here. I shout, spinning to face Valan. Mari, how much longer? Almost there. She grits out, her hands trembling from the effort of maintaining the barrier and working to break the chains that hold Talia. The Shadow Knights are pressing closer, sensing that their prize is slipping away. I push harder, light flaring from my palms as I raise both hands. I can feel the energy building inside me, the raw power of my Menkarion heritage surging through my veins. Light and shadow intertwine. It's a dangerous balance, one I haven't fully mastered, but there's no other option. I focus on the shadows surrounding the Shadow Knights, calling to the darkness within them. My light dims for a moment as I concentrate, and I feel the shadows respond, shifting, writhing under my control. The Shadow Knights pause, confused for just a heartbeat, and that's all I need. With a burst of energy, I push the shadows away from them, forcing them to retreat. The creatures screech, their forms flickering, momentarily destabilized. It's not enough to destroy them, but it gives us a precious few seconds. Now, I shout, turning to Mari. She slams her hands together, and the chains around Talia shatter with a resounding crack, dissolving into nothing. Talia slumps to the ground, unconscious but alive. Valan is at her side in an instant, scooping her up in his arms.
We've got her. Let's get the hell out of here.
Mari drops the barrier, her breathing ragged but her eyes sharp. The portal I created to get us in is destabilizing. We don't have much time. I nod, turning back to the Shadow Knights. They've recovered, their forms solidifying once more, and they're angry. I can feel the dark energy radiating off them like a tidal wave. They move towards us, faster this time, their claws stretching out, their hollow eyes fixed on Talia. Go, I shout to Valan and Mari. I'll hold them off. Valan hesitates for just a moment, his eyes meeting mine, but he knows better than to argue. He nods and turns, running towards the shimmering rift in the air that Mari has reopened. Mari follows close behind, her eyes scanning the horizon for any more threats. I stand my ground as the Shadow Knights close in. I can feel the weight of their power pressing down on me, the darkness swirling around them like a storm, but I won't let them take her. Not again. I raise my hands, summoning both light and shadow, pulling them into a single, binding sphere of energy. It's more power than I've ever channeled before, and it takes every ounce of strength I have to keep it under control. The light burns, bright and pure, while the shadow twists and writhes, dark and violent. The Shadow Knights pause, sensing the danger. For a moment, they hesitate, their forms flickering as they're unsure whether to advance. And then I release the energy. The explosion of light and shadow slams into them with the force of a collapsing star. The ground shakes beneath me, and the air vibrates with the sheer intensity of the blast. The Shadow Knights screech, their forms breaking apart, dissolving into the air. But I know it's only temporary. They'll reform, they always do. I stumble, the drain of energy hitting me like a wave. My vision blurs, my limbs feel heavy. But I force myself to turn and run towards the portal. I can see Valan and Mari just ahead, Talia still in Valan's arms. The portal is flickering, unstable, and I push myself harder, my muscles screaming in protest. I dive through the rift just as it collapses behind me, the last of the Shadow Knights' screams echoing in the distance.
Chapter 5.
We tumble through the portal and land hard on the stone floor of the Academy's war room. The cold, solid surface is a shock after the ever-shifting dimension we just escaped. I lie there for a moment, gasping for breath, my body aching from the strain of holding so much power. Valan is already on his feet, carefully setting Talia on a nearby table, his face etched with concern.
Is she...
He begins, his voice tight. Mari is beside Talia in an instant, her hands glowing with telekinetic energy as she checks for any lingering damage. After a moment, she nods. She's alive. Weak, but she'll recover. A wave of relief washes over me, but it's quickly followed by a crushing exhaustion. My body feels like it's been through a war, and in a way it has. The Shadow Knights are unlike anything I've ever faced. An enemy born from darkness itself, and they're coming for us. I sit up slowly, wincing at the sharp pain in my side. Valan notices and offers me a hand, which I take gratefully. His usual smirk is gone, replaced by a rare look of sincerity.
You did good, Rayna.
He says quietly.
We wouldn't have made it out without you.
I shrug, trying to downplay the compliment. But the truth is, I've never felt more uncertain. We barely escaped. Talia is alive, yes, but the Shadow Knights, they're not done. This was just the beginning. Mari stands, wiping the sweat from her brow. We need to report this to the council. They'll want to know what happened. Not yet, I say, my voice firm despite my exhaustion. There's something else. This attack, the kidnapping, it wasn't random. They're preparing for something bigger. I can feel it. The words hang in the air, heavy with the weight of what's to come. Valan and Maric exchange a glance, their expressions grim. We all know what this means. The Shadow Knights are just the beginning. There's a war coming. A war that will test everything we've ever known. And I'm not sure we're ready. Later, after Talia has been taken to the medics and the war room has fallen quiet, I stand alone at the East Tower's balcony, standing out at the twin moons of Menkar. The indigo sky is peaceful again, the chaos of the day fading into memory. But the peace feels fragile, like a thin layer of glass ready to shatter at the slightest touch. I think about the Shadow Knights, about the darkness that waits just beyond the edges of our reality. I think about Talia, about how close we came to losing her. And I think about the future, about what it means to be Rayna, the daughter of the King and Queen of Menkar, and what it will mean to lead our people into the coming storm. I feel the weight of the starlight blade at my side, a constant reminder of my duty, my powers, my heritage. They're not just gifts. They're responsibilities, and I can't run from them anymore.
Are you all right?
I turn to see my father standing in the doorway, his arms crossed. I notice he isn't wearing his crown, meaning he's here as my father and not the king. He smiles at me, but his eyes are serious, reflecting the same uncertainty I feel. I'm fine, I say, though the words feel hollow. My father steps out onto the balcony, leaning against the railing beside me.
You did good today. You know this is just the beginning, right?
I nod, my gaze fixed on the moons. Yeah, I know. For a moment, we stand in silence, the cool night air washing over us. The battle may be over, but the war is coming. And when it does, we'll be ready. Because we have to be.